In this video, we're going to look at bringing in leave balances from another system. There are a few best practice steps to follow. It's a good idea to check out our other video on setting up leave balances for new employees. If you're bringing over a temporary employee with an accumulated 8% of gross wages, select the method a percentage of gross wages, temporary and regular scenario. Make sure that the dark brown box selected first is the leave as 8% of gross earnings. Then accumulate and pay later. Simply enter in the dollar value of leave that they've accumulated so far. If the employee has worked for 6 months and become entitled to sick leave, you'll need to enter in the number of days they currently have available and set the most recent addition of sick leave to be that sick leave anniversary. Remember, it will always be 6 months from their start date. If they've also got some alternative leave days owing from working on a public holiday, add them in below. Choose whether or not leave will show on payslips and save. If you're bringing over permanent employees entitled to a minimum of 4 weeks of annual leave per year, things are a little bit more complicated. Choose the method rate as set per the Holidays Act. If your employee is entitled to more than 4 weeks of leave per year, change that here. You'll need to then set the value of their standard working week, in other words, their ordinary weekly pay. This can be either a custom rate or the same as their default standard pay settings. For more on those options, refer to our setup video for new employees. Next, make sure the leave anniversary matches the employee's original start date as set in their Basic Details tab. Change the date of most recent addition of leave to be their most recent leave anniversary. In this example, it was reached a few months ago earlier this year. You then need to put in the balance of days that the employee currently has remaining from the most recent leave entitlement. In other words, take the number of days they had on their leave anniversary and deduct any leave taken between then and joining Thank You Payroll. Some systems provide leave balances in hours or even a straight dollar value. These balances might combine an employee's leave entitlements as well as what can be referred to as accrued leave, which is the 8% of gross wages since most recent leave anniversary that an employee is entitled to in a final pay in addition to weeks annual leave remaining. You must separate out how much is allocated leave and how much is accrued leave. The allocated leave must be converted into a balance of days. Accrued leave will be calculated on what you put into an employee's pay history tab, which we'll cover shortly. As a basic example, this employee is coming into the system with 40 hours of leave entitlement from their old system. This has been worked out to be equal to 5 days of leave, as they always work 40-hour weeks with 5 8-hour days. The starting balance is therefore 5 days. For sick leave, you need to set an employee's most recent addition of sick leave as their most recent sick leave anniversary. Remember, this will always be 6 months from the start date in their Basic Details. In this example, it's in July. The starting balance is whatever the balance currently is, again, in days. The number of alternative days needs to be added in at the bottom, and then you can choose whether or not to show leave balances on payslips. Note that regardless of what you select here, alternative leave balances will always show on payslips. If you have an employee that has taken leave in advance, you'll need to enter that in as a negative value. You'll then need to get in touch with us via email to make sure that we have the dollar value of this leave taken in advance to reduce their 8% of gross wages since most recent leave anniversary. The final step is to enter in the employee's pay history. This is where the system calculates their 8% of gross wages. All that we need is the gross wages going back to their most recent leave anniversary. Instead of entering in each week, you can use the employee import tool to quickly upload pay history data. If you know the total gross wages paid since most recent leave anniversary, you can get in touch with us via email and we can set up the history page to accommodate one single gross entry. It will take a pay run to process for leave balances to lock in. It's a good idea to check them then and notify us if anything looks incorrect.